For this DIY, you're going to need a sweater, an embroidery loop, which you can find at your local craft store, some needle and thread, and just try to go with a thicker type of thread. It will just make your life a little bit easier. A fabric marker, as well as, this is optional, but I used it to trace. So you can see here, I cut out a bunch of the letters that I would need. Well, it was actually kind of like a punch out type of thing. So I used that as a guideline and started laying down each letter that I needed for my saying. And I was going with coffee, blog, repeat, because that is what I feel like I do sometimes. So I thought it was the perfect quote, but you guys can get very creative with this part of the DIY and do whatever you want to do. Now that your letters are all laid out, use a fabric marker, and this thing is genius. I was originally going to use chalk as a guideline, but it was not working at all. And I actually found this at Walmart, which is in the fabric kind of department that they have. And it's a marker that slowly fades over time on fabric. So this is very helpful. So I definitely suggest going and finding one of these. So just start by tracing your letters. And as you can see, I'm tracing the outside of my foam letters just because I wanted to make sure mine were large enough. So this really depends on your letters and which ones you're using to trace. Or if you're freehanding it, you can completely skip this step. But I found just gave it a little more accuracy with it. I just thought it looked a little better. Plus, I am not very good at freehanding things. So now take your embroidery loop and place it over top of your letters and then put the other half underneath. So only between one layer of the sweater. So the back of the sweater is still going to be untouched. So you have the top of the loop on the top of your sweater, and then the bottom is between the first layer of the sweater. Hopefully that makes sense. And you might have to move this around, and I did. As you can see, mine did not fully cover my saying, but this is completely fine. You just change it as you go. Now for the fun part, and I'm going to try to explain this the best that I can, but start by pulling your thread up from the bottom of your sweater, as you can see here, and then when you make another stitch, you're basically going back. So you can see here I'm going back to originally where I would want to start, and then once again to make another stitch, you come up, leaving a little bit of a gap, and then you're going to place it back down where you originally would have started, like you were sewing. This just creates a more of an even stitch line, and I tried doing it the other way because I thought that's what you were supposed to do, and it did not look good. So you definitely want to follow this method. Keep going with these stitches until you've done all your letters, and there's either two ways you can do. You can stop at each letter, which I did most of the time just because I didn't want my thread too long. I just felt it was more difficult to work with, or you can keep going all the way through if you just have a shorter saying. And one last tip for you guys, you can see here that my thread is doubled. So I found this just created a thicker line when sewing or embroidering the letters. So depending on how thick your string is, you might want to use this as well. So definitely let me know if you guys end up trying this DIY, and definitely let me know in the comments below what sayings you put on your shirt or whatever you are stitching, because I'm super curious, because I think I'm going to do this DIY a few more times with maybe like hearts or something else. So let me know in the comments below.